So just to keep in the spirit of beta canon, here are some beta canon things I remember or I have come across about the Borg. One, Voyager was Borg, an early version. There's a book that William Shatner, quote unquote, wrote with Judith and was it Garth Stevens? I can't remember their names.
I think you're on the right point there, though.
It's a married couple who wrote Star Trek books together and quote unquote wrote one with William Shatner, where Kirk is revived by the Romulans with help from the Borg. Mm-hmm. And then when Spock goes to mind meld with a Borg or with Kirk or something, it's revealed to him that Voyager was Borg. I always thought that was an interesting idea.
Yep.
And then the other one was there was almost an episode of Enterprise where Alice Krige would have played a scientist who discovered some of the Borg technology that was left behind from the First Contact movie.
Right.
Who went on to become the Queen of the Borg.
That would have been an interesting episode.
That would have been interesting. There was also a video game where it was going to be revealed to be a Vulcan scientist who discovered the Borg early on, and she went on to become queen as well, or queen instead.
Yeah, that was, I want to say Legacy?
Yeah, I don't think the game was finished.
Yeah.
I think it was just...
No, it was finished all right.
Oh, it was finished.
It was. That was still a game that I actually want to play. I believe it came out on PS2, Xbox, and PC.
See, I don't remember ever seeing it out in the wild, but that doesn't mean anything.
I'll pull up some gameplay after we do the podcast. I think you might like it.
But I figured while we were talking about it, I'd go ahead and throw those pieces in, since that's the little bit of beta canon I know about the Borg.
Well, this one is not entirely related to the story we're dealing with here, but just because it's an interesting tidbit along that line. There was a novel where the Borg intercepted some kind of extragalactic ship, right? Ended up trying to assimilate it, and it didn't quite work out and ended up damaging its memory core and sent its memory core looking for its creators. But its creators were extragalactic, so the memory core was damaged, so it couldn't go back over there. So it went to one of the only places that it could access that it knew that people were there to understand. And it just so happened that this vessel was the probe that we see in The Voyage Home.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so the Borg are kind of all over the place, really.
See, that one's one I almost wish they'd leave alone, because that was for the whales, not for us. And that just reminds us that we're not the most important thing in the universe. Because very often humans are like, oh yeah, humans, you guys are the center of the universe. Paris is the capital of the Federation. Well, yeah, but there's other stuff out there. Yeah. And
it turns out the Borg are the center of the universe after all.
Well, I would think so. At least they have more mass than everything else when you start looking at their transport conduits, the size of their ships.
Exactly.
Yeah. God, there was nothing scarier than the first time the Borg were revealed.
Oh, man. I had nightmares for weeks.
Yeah.
Or at least a week after I first saw
them. Because especially before there was assimilation, they just come after you for your technology. They don't care about anything else.
It would just completely absorb you. And, pretty much that's what we've got going on here with this ship, the Einstein, which now that it's absorbed still a planet, Pluto, # make it a planet again, they are right at Earth's doorstep, and the only thing that's keeping them waiting is two people, Captain Picard and Seven of Nine, who the new queen, who not only being influenced from the old queen, but also being influenced from Captain Janeway, wants those two back into the fold. And they come up with a pretty brilliant idea to try and stop them. They end up busting out the Doomsday Machine from the original series.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Which almost ends up going extremely poorly because the Borg end up assimilating it.
That sounds like a terrible idea.
That is a horrible thing. That is fighting fire with a pit of grease. Yeah, but you know what? It ended up working out because Seven of Nine managed to get onto the ship, the Einstein, and make contact with Captain Janeway, who was able to break through the collective consciousness much the same way as Picard was in The Best of Both Worlds, and allow herself and all of these Borg to be infected with the same virus that did them away in Endgame, which affects almost all of them except for one ship which is the Einstein itself. And whether it was because it had been pre-programmed before all of this had happened, or whether it had taken that from Janeway's consciousness and her ideals and her strong belief of what the Federation stands for, they ended up setting out in a completely blind direction towards the Beta Quadrant and started broadcasting a weird combination of the classic Federation motto and the Borg motto, which is to explore strange new worlds and assimilate them, to seek out new life and new civilizations and assimilate them, and to boldly go where no Borg has gone before and assimilate them.
Yeah.